Hello and welcome to Hoffmann-Photography. My name is Rainer, I'm a photographer and photo instructor. If you have ever had trouble finding a specific image on your hard disk, then this video is for you. Let's face it, once you have more than 2,000 or 3,000 images on your hard disk, things get messy. Now imagine 100,000 images. If you don't have a well-organized filing system, finding specific images can be very frustrating and it can take ages. But there's hope. Here are 3 steps to mastering the chaos on your hard disk. I have already said this in a previous video, but I can't say it often enough. Deleting all the low quality and duplicate images is the first and most important step in keeping your archive tidy. Many people have a hard time deleting their images, and I agree, it takes some training. Or, as the German nature photographer Fritz Pölking once said, be brave. If it takes you longer than 3 seconds, give or take a second, to decide whether to keep an image or not, you can safely delete it. Mind you, I'm not talking about the pictures of your kids or of grandma's 90th birthday. Keep them all if you like. I'm talking about those images you would hang on the walls at your home or you would put on your photographer's website. Works of art, if you will. Here's a little advice. Don't try to sort and delete your images right after the shoot or immediately after you come home from a vacation. The emotional attachment to your images is still too strong then. After 2 or 3 weeks, it is so much easier to hit the delete button on your keyboard. Believe it or not, images get worse over time. I should know. Most people organize the folders on their hard drive like they would organize a classic filing cabinet. They create folders with more or less concise names and then subfolders and perhaps sub-subfolders. And then the files go into these folders. Unfortunately, after a few years, the folder structure will look somewhat like this. Does this look familiar? Do you sometimes wonder which folder to put certain images in? Do you sometimes make a copy of a file to put it in a second folder? Do you create more and more folders because you can't decide which folder to put new arrivals in? Do you have a folder called miscellaneous? Or other? Or this and that? Well, that folder goes by many names. Anyway, if you have a folder structure that looks even remotely like this, you are in for trouble in the long run. Try finding that picture of that awesome sunset you took on vacation in Mexico in 2018. Or was it in 2015? You get the point, I hope. Looking for files on the hard drive can be time-consuming and frustrating. But there's no need to do it the old-fashioned way, meaning opening one folder after the other, only to notice that the file must be in yet another folder. No, that's not the way to do it. After all, we are working with digital files on a computer, so why not let the computer do most of the work? Here is how we organize our images. First of all, we have simplified the folder structure as much as possible. The top folder, with the admittedly not very creative name Photos, contains subfolders for each year. No fancy names are needed for these subfolders, they are simply named with a year. The subfolders below the year folders are simply given sequential numbers. These are the folders where the image files are stored. Since the operating systems have trouble handling a very large number of files in a folder, we limit the number of files in each folder to about 100 or 200. Doesn't really matter, but we limit the number. When a folder is full, we simply create a new folder with the next sequential number until the year is over. It can happen that quite different images from different shootings end up in the same folder. If that scares you, that's justified. There is indeed a catch to this filing system. Finding files the traditional way, by opening a folder and looking at what it contains, leads to, let me put it carefully, even more frustration than with a classical folder structure. That's why we need step 3. The idea is to let the computer find your images, no matter in which folder they are. However, that requires assigning keywords to each file. Unfortunately, keywording is tedious work, but it is absolutely necessary. Here is a short and by no means complete introduction to keywording. All you need for keywording is an organizing software that supports IPTC data. Here I'm using Adobe Bridge, but Lightroom or even Earthworm View and others will do nicely. I start by grouping similar photos together. For example, the 4 pictures of elephants. This one goes here and these 2 go here. And there's this picture of a small plane. The reason is that there is at least one keyword that is common to all 5 pictures. So I select all 5 pictures, then right click and I go down to File Info. This opens this menu. I'll zoom in a bit. And there are quite a few IPTC fields that you can explore for yourself. Right now, we are only interested in the keywords field. Now, what keywords do we need to find a particular image later? Ask yourself the following questions. Where are we? What can be seen in the picture? And if there are people in the picture, who are they? The question of when the picture was taken is not important because the date is in the EXIF data anyway. I'll start with the keywords that all 5 images have in common. You don't know it, but all 5 images were taken in Africa. So I type in Africa. This is a bit non-specific, but we will refine the location information later. For the moment, that's all we can do. So I click OK. Now I select the 4 elephants and File Info again. Well, all 4 images show at least one elephant. So I type in elephant. Elephant. What else do these images have in common? Well, all 4 were taken outdoors, so outdoors, and it was daylight. That's it for now, so I click OK. Now I will refine the location information. The picture of the plane and this one, picture of the plane and this one were both taken in Botswana. Botswana and OK. And these 2 were taken in Namibia. And OK. Of course, I could, and actually I would, refine the location information even more, but for this video, I'll stop here. Let's refine the what do we see information a bit more. This elephant here is running and kicking up dust. So this additional information is helpful in finding your images. Okay, I type in dust, dusty, running, and and moving. And moving. For most purposes, 7 to 10 keywords per image should be enough, but some redundant information is often helpful. In this case, dust and dusty, which is sort of redundant, but when you are looking for your images later on, then it may be helpful to put in both, or running and moving, and so on. Try to be as specific as possible about the content of the image. And beware of typos. Unfortunately, most search algorithms are not as advanced as Google search, and if you misspell a keyword, the algorithm won't find it. So check your spelling. The basic idea is to add keywords in such a way that in the end you could theoretically find one image among hundreds of thousands. But that is theory indeed. Actually, most of the time a search will come up with a couple of similar images, but that usually is good enough. Agreed. Keywording is no fun. And if you have a backlog of a couple of thousand images without keywords, I don't envy you. But if you assign keywords as soon as you add a few dozen or so images to your archive, then the task is manageable. And if you do it properly, finding images becomes a matter of seconds instead of hours. And that, in my opinion, is worth all the trouble. I hope that helped, and as always, thanks for watching.